Today, I want to share with you my personal tricks and tips for treating aquarium fish with salt. Don't go anywhere. What is up, YouTube and all my fish keeping friends? How y'all doing out there in fish tank land? Today, I've been tearing apart my fish room. I'm going through everything in my fish lab space, going over all of my different medications and all of my buffers and different chemicals and things that I've got in there. And it really inspired me to create a series on aquarium fish medications. This is going to be about a 5 or 6 part series on all the different medications and things that I use to medicate, quarantine, and treat my aquarium fish. So the number one thing that I always reach for when I have an ill fish is salt. It is incredible. It's much cheaper than getting into medications. So I always recommend that your first resort be salt. Now, there are lots of different kinds of salts out there that you can get involved in. There's even table salt, which I have seen some people use. Now, keep in mind, a lot of those different salts contain anti-caking agents, which can be harmful to fish depending on what species you're dealing with. So I recommend staying away from that stuff. I personally use 2 different kinds of salt. I use a Epsom salt, and I also use a marine salt. These are both really awesome. Now, please keep in mind that when I use salts, I only use them for a temporary amount of time. When I am creating the salt for the tank that I'm treating, I always dilute that salt in a small amount of water first before adding it to the aquarium so that you do not burn the gills or irritate the fish. Some people are really scared about the idea of putting salt into your aquarium or treating your fish with salt. Please keep in mind that humans, just like fish, contain about 0.9% salt by volume. So salt is part of our chemistry already. It is actually pretty healthy for fish to get a little bit of salt. The real key is keeping that contact with salt temporary. You want to use these kinds of salts in small amounts followed by water changes or in short salt baths from about 5 to 10 minutes. So the first salt that I really go to is going to be marine salt, which is sodium chloride. Now, this salt is really awesome. I really do love it. I use it for things like ick and creating salt baths that are temporary. If I was going to treat a whole tank, I do about 5 grams per liter and leave that in the tank for no more than like 6 to 12 hours, something like that, followed by a water change. Besides that, I like to use the marine salt for a salt bath, which is about up to 20 to 25 grams per liter. And I would not keep a fish in a salt bath at that concentration for more than about 5 to 10 minutes. I'd probably do about 5 minutes. You can start to see that the fish will start to have problems breathing and start to float to the surface if you keep it in there any longer. So I do about 5 to 10 minutes, followed by rinsing them into some fresh water. Now, it's really awesome to see what happens when you put a fish with something like ick into a salt bath. I do have 2 angelfish that were both rescues, and when I received both of those fish, they were covered in ick. I put them into a salt bath for about 5 to 10 minutes, and you could literally see the ick sloughing off, curdling up and sloughing off and falling off of the fish. It's pretty awesome. So this is a really incredible tool to use when treating different kinds of skin funguses and things like ick on the surface of the fish. Now, the other salt that I use is going to be Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate. This is a really good salt for fish that are bloated, that are constipated, or egg-bound. This is really good for helping the fish to relax as well if they're stressed. And so if I was going to use this as a laxative or to help evacuate the gut of a fish that is constipated, I would go with about 30 grams per liter. This is a little bit less concentrated than working with like a marine salt. So I do 30 grams per liter, and I would leave them in a bath of that kind of solution for about 30 minutes or so per day, and then return them back to the aquarium and do that for a few days until you might be able to relieve their digestive tract and completely evacuate the gut. Now, when dealing with a fish that is egg bound, I do just about a 1 gram per liter solution, and also do that for about 30 minutes per day and return them into a freshwater aquarium. Now, please also keep in mind when using salts in your aquarium, they can affect the positive bacteria within your water column and that are part of the nitrogen cycle. So please keep that in mind. It's really good to go ahead and take off your hang on the back filter because the salts can affect all of the positive bacteria that are living within your filtration system. Also, if you do have a active carbon filter on your aquarium, it's good to remove that carbon. Also, remember that salts can affect some of your plants if you have a planted aquarium. I do know that things like Java moss can be easily affected by salts. It can melt that Java moss right back with too much of a concentration of salt. So just please keep in mind that if you do have a planted aquarium, using larger concentrations of salt could negatively affect the plants within your aquarium. Now, I just want to reiterate that the use of salt is my number one go-to. Before I jump onto medication, before I pull out the General Cure, the erythromycin, or the levamisole, or anything else, ICX or methylene blue, I go straight to salt. And usually salt works, especially something like ick or some kind of skin fungus. Just raising the water temperature and a little bit of salt in that water column can completely get rid of ick over time. It is pretty powerful all by itself. So I definitely recommend, if you're having a problem with fish, please try salt first before you blow a whole bunch of money on different medications and stress your fish out with all kinds of powerful medications as well. Well, I hope this video might help some of you out that are dealing with a sick fish or new to the hobby. I really look forward to making the rest of this series. Please keep an eye out for my next video coming up in this series of medicating aquarium fish. It's going to be on General Cure made by API, which is a combination of metronidazole and praziquantel. Really good medication for dealing with parasites on your fish. Thank you guys so much for watching this content. I really do appreciate it. I hope it helped you out. If you're not subscribed to this content, you like it, and you want to see more of it, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for all notifications. And remember, guys, keep your tanks clean, your fish fed, and have fun.